Hey, good morning. Meteorologist Scott Puyer here with your Atlantic Tropics Outlook and discussion for June 15th, 2021, and still have a whole lot to talk about this morning across the Atlantic Basin. The second named storm of the season did develop late yesterday off the coast of the eastern seaboard, and we could have our third named storm potentially developing in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico by the end of this week, with a potential heavy rainfall threat, certainly for the northern Gulf Coast. So let's break it all down. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please comment on the video below and subscribe to my page, and I'll try to get back with all your questions and comments as well. All right, let's talk about what we've got going on, and I'll make my camera here a little bit smaller so you see less of me and more of the wide view. So first things first, we'll talk about it briefly. Here's a look at Tropical Storm Bill that developed off the coast of the eastern seaboard. This is a typical breeding ground for tropical systems and subtropical systems early in the Atlantic season. As you get these kind of complexes of storms that originate over the U.S., they move over the Gulf Stream, and then they can kind of pick up a little bit of steam as they swing out to sea. So there goes Bill. Short-lived Bill rolling out to sea, no threat to any of the continental United States as the system continues to roll out. Well earlier than the typical date for the second named storm of the season. Now, Bill is not the only game in town. Bill, system number one, we'll outline him there in pink, but the big area of disturbed weather that we're going to spend most of this video talking about is this kind of large complex of showers and storms over parts of Central America, the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the eastern Pacific. We call this the CAG, the Central American Gyre. Fancy word, right? Basically, the Central American Gyre is fairly common in this time of year, and sometimes it can go well throughout the year. But basically, it's an area of disturbed weather that has a broad gyre or counterclockwise spin of showers and storms. And you can kind of see these complexes of storms kind of just rotating around. This is a common area that we see early season tropical development because, again, as you get these complexes of storms that move over warm water, you get the idea. You can get the lowering of pressure, and some systems can develop, as we've already seen in the eastern Pacific this year. Now, this is going to be the system to watch as it begins to move northward as we head towards late week and into the weekend for a heavy rainfall threat for parts of the Gulf Coast region that I've outlined here in green. A whole lot more on this in a moment, and my thoughts on Invest 92L in the southern Bay of Campeche in just a moment. Last but not least, I guess I should say, is an area of disturbed weather that rolled off the coast of Africa. You can see it here that I'm outlining in yellow, far bottom right-hand corner of your screen. This is Invest 94L. This is now only a 10% chance of development within the next 3 to 5 days. You can see there is a little bit of spin here, and this is a robust tropical wave for mid-June. It is not very common that we see this robust of a wave with this kind of spin this early in the Atlantic hurricane season because of what? Dry air. You see this kind of milky filament over the Cabo Verde Islands and out into the Atlantic. This is the Saharan air layer, SAL, the SAL. This is what usually kind of hampers tropical development in the far eastern Atlantic this time of year. So truthfully, I'm not worried about this system. It's probably going to fizzle and really lose steam as it kind of encounters this big bubble of SAL, the Saharan air layer, over the next 3 to 5 days. But definitely something that is interesting given the climatological prospects that we don't usually see many tropical waves like that in the eastern Atlantic in the middle part of June. So let's go talk about this. Invest 92L in the southern Gulf of Mexico. That's kind of the main player in town with regards to our local forecast here in the Gulf Coast region. So latest outlook from the National Hurricane Center, we've now got a 70% chance of tropical development in this area that we have outlined in here over the south and western part of the Gulf of Mexico. So 70% chance over the next 3 to 5 days that a depression, number 3 of the year, or tropical storm Claudette does form in the southern Gulf. Now, I've got to tell you, the system looks a little better on infrared satellite this morning, but it's still a big sloppy mess. Don't really let it fool you. Although it's got some storms, they're not organized in any kind of real fashion. But we are seeing some more thunderstorms, and that is a change from 24 hours ago when there really wasn't much thunderstorm development over the water. Most of the thunderstorms were over land. So this is interesting. Here's a look at the satellite as the sun starts to come up over our disturbance, and you'll kind of depict some things. We've got a complex of storms that is rolling towards the south near Tampico, and we've also got another complex of storms north of Merida over the Yucatan that are moving generally towards the north and west. So you've got some, and you can even see a couple of clouds that are arcing north of this. So we're starting to get some broad spin that is developing in the Bay of Campeche. And I think this is going to be a continued gradual development of this system. Now, as we go towards the latter part of this week, this whole big kind of blobular tropical moisture field is going to begin to lift north and northeast. And that's going to be the big storyline, is regardless of whether we see an organized bona fide tropical low develop, although I do think we're going to see a depression or weak to moderate tropical storm come out of this, I think main concern, bottom line, is heavy rainfall threat for someone along the northern Gulf Coast. So that's kind of your takeaway points, if you will, is that all of this moisture with time that is kind of pooling up over the Bay of Campeche and the Central American gyre will start to lift north. Now, you're thinking to yourself, well, where's it going to go? Why is it steering towards the north? So let's talk about that. Let's go look at the steering players in play right now. And we'll start the clock right here for Tuesday morning. And right now, here's the players in town. What we're looking at is the upper level geopotential heights. So you're looking at upper level high pressure and upper level low pressure. High pressure in red, low pressure in blue. So we'll outline this for you. We've got a trough of low pressure over the eastern United States. We'll put that in blue. We've got our area of disturbed weather, low pressure, in the Bay of Campeche that I'll outline in blue. Now, to the west, we've got this large ridge of atmospheric high pressure. That has been keeping us relatively dry here in South Louisiana and across much of the western Gulf. That's also been keeping our disturbance way south and inducing some northerly wind shear on the system. Also, towards the east, we've got a big ridge of high pressure that is developing and kind of moving in from the east towards the west. So again, rotation around high pressure is clockwise. So here's the key. As we go through the next couple of days, whoops, drew that arrow the wrong way. As we go through the next couple of days, this high pressure system towards our east, that's going to begin to move in like so. And as that starts to happen, in addition, this high pressure system off to our west is going to start to back away. What is that going to do? As this high pressure system starts to kind of nose its way in, the flow is going to start to change more out of a southerly direction. So as this high kind of backs away, the door will open for our system to start to move towards the north. Now, there are still some caveats with this, with regards to exactly where the system develops, because again, if the system develops further over here, then certainly it could go further east. If it develops a little bit further south and west, it could end up going further towards the west. So there's still some various outcomes as to exactly where our system is going to go. Not to mention, that's going to have big implications as to who sees the heaviest rain. So let's kind of talk about that. I downloaded the latest European forecast model, and I wanted to show you what it shows. As we go towards late Friday, so this is Friday afternoon and into the evening, we've got somewhat of a broad low pressure system that develops over the west central Gulf. Maybe a tropical storm, maybe just a depression. But what you can see, dry air on the western side, see that outlined in black that I just circled? That is atmospheric dry air. So west of the system, dry, sharp cutoff between heavy rainfall potential east of the center and relatively low impact, not much, just a typical kind of hot, little bit breezier day west of the system, and really not even that breezy. So as this moves north, we'll show you Friday night and into Saturday, this takes the center of the system kind of on a track like this. That's the general track of the European forecast model. That would keep much of the heaviest rain potential along and well east of the center, outlined here in black. So again, if you're east of the center, that's where we're going to be keeping an eye on that heavy rainfall threat. And some of the numbers in this region could be quite high. Now, it all depends on where the system goes. If it comes a little bit further like this, heaviest rain will be further east, away from parts of Louisiana. So again, just a little bit too early to depict exactly where the heaviest rainfall numbers are going to be, but someone within the Gulf Coast region is likely going to pick up 6 to 10 plus inches of rain from this. It's just not going to be everyone. It's going to be very, very dependent on where the track is, because again, I think that we're going to be looking at this probably on Thursday, and there's going to be relatively not much happening on the western side, and you're probably going to get this big arcing comma kind of C shape, a backwards C, where you've got all the storms on this eastern side as we go towards Thursday and into Friday. So that's kind of my general thought. Now, here's a look at the latest numbers from the Weather Prediction Center, and I'll go ahead and move my camera lens over so you can see the numbers here. These are pretty high, and these should be taken seriously as a possibility. Now, again, notice the numbers. 9.3 inches of rain close to Biloxi and Gulfport, 9 inches of rain near Mobile, 9 inches of rain near Houma, 7 inches of rain in New Orleans. These numbers are certainly possible, but again, I would not take these numbers with certainty at this stage in the game. If the center of the low, like last night's GFS model showed, comes a little bit further east, these numbers would likely be a little bit higher over towards the east, and these numbers would be lower over southeast Louisiana. So again, this morning's GFS was back with a little bit of a further west solution, but last night's GFS was a little bit further east. So numerous possibilities are still on the table with this, and until we actually see this develop, I think we're going to still have some flip-flop in the model data. You can see the European guidance pretty locked in with a Louisiana or western Louisiana solution that would paint the heaviest rain potential for much of southeast Louisiana and into the Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida panhandle. But again, all can change. Look at the GFS guidance, still located over Louisiana, but a little bit more east than what the European is showing. In terms of strength, one more thing before I let you go. The general consensus with this is that wind shear is going to remain on the moderate end, and it's still going to have some dry air intrusion. So on my general thinking, I think a weak to moderate tropical storm is what is most likely at this point. Tropical depression, kind of sloppy, but there could be some embedded higher wind gusts within those tropical feeder bands. So I think this ends up being a weak to moderate tropical storm, but the big threat is going to be the rainfall, usually is with these early season systems. So if you're watching from the Gulf Coast, kind of be prepared for that heavy rainfall threat, clear out your storm drains, that kind of thing. Main time frame, I should mention one more time, I probably failed to mention the exact time frame, but your primary impact days, Friday, Saturday, early Sunday. So that's kind of the general time frame, but again, that'll fluctuate based on the track. So again, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'll have these updates coming up every day or so, most likely every day this week at about this time in the morning. So subscribe to my channel and leave a comment, like, or question in the video below, and I'll get back to you. All right, y'all, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you soon.